The big shocker, Naxals being targeted, but the left parties have a problem. The backbone of the Red Terror has been crushed. Our security forces today neutralized 27 dreaded Maoists in Operation Black Forest. Wanted Maoist leader Basavaraju, who carried a bounty of rupees 1.5 crore, has also been killed in Chhattisgarh, Narayanpur. Basavaraju was the General Secretary of the banned Communist Party of India, Maoist. Home Minister Amit Shah called him the backbone of Naxalism since the 1970s. While Home Minister hailed the security forces for this big success, after all, under Operation Black Forest, 54 Naxals have been arrested and 84 have surrendered in Chhattisgarh alone, and Telangana and Maharashtra. The Prime Minister also hailed the big success in the fight against Red Terror, asserting government's commitment to eliminate the menace of Naxalism. But viewers, from Kashmir to Chhattisgarh, the opposition continues to doubt our forces and jump to the defense of terrorists. India alliance partner CPI has now issued a statement condemning the killing of Basavaraju. They call it an instance of extrajudicial action, demanding an independent inquiry. The question is, why give cover fire to Red Terror? That's the question. Joining me on the debate tonight, Shehzad Poonawalla continues to be with us. Dr. Anand, that is Sushant Sareen, joining the debate. Also joining me this evening, John Dayal, human rights activist, and Ravi Srivastava, political analyst. John Dayal, I want to ask you, Naxalism has been a scourge. The Red Corridor is not of recent origin. It has troubled this country for the longest period of time. In a moment of success of removing Naxalism that has prevented development of the Adivasis, especially in the Chhattisgarh area, should there be a human rights question mark on it that should be put? The CPI, not talking about the valor of our forces, but talking about the proponent, the man who actually led this Naxal activity since the 1970s, eulogizing him?
There is always a human rights angle to any violence, from domestic violence to international violence. And obviously, when Naxalites kill civilians, there's a human rights issue there. When police attack them and are killing people who surrender, there's a human rights angle there. In recent days, government admittedly says large number of Maoist Naxalites are surrendering. In that case, if they're surrendering, why continue to kill? Give them a chance to surrender. Surrender requires a certain set of elements, a certain ceasefire, a certain so giving them opportunity to come over ground and surrender. Go on that route till they surrender. And secondly, if the opposition, particularly the left parties, are asking for an investigation, whatever is the harm in any investigation, it can only unearth the truth.
Well, I want to only tell you one information that you might be missing, which is Basavaraju was not surrendering and he was killed in an encounter. He was certainly not giving up his arms. But Shehzad Poonawalla, human rights, what about the human rights of those who are attacked and killed, those who prevent development from taking place so that children can get education and these Adivasis, these tribals can get a normal life?
Navika, from Bahawalpur to Bastar, the idea is very clear: zero tolerance for terror. In fact, Naxalism was called the biggest internal security challenge not by the BJP government but by the UPA government. And let me just tell you, the person who has been killed today, the General Secretary level leader of the the Maoist Naxalite, 2010 Chintalnar ambush, 75 CRPF personnel. Obviously, they don't have human rights, Navika. 2013 Jhiram Ghati massacre, 27 Congress party people were killed. Congress also should not have any human rights. 2013 Latehar ambush, CRPF Jawan's body was found. 2018 Araku killings, TDP politicians killed, no human rights for them, please. 2019 Gadchiroli attack, 60 commandos killed, no human rights for them. Shamgiri attack, one BJP MLA, 4 security personnel, unke human rights क्यों चाहिए भाई? 17 security personnel killed in Minpa ambush, all of this done by this person. 500 plus killings just by him, and 20,000 people including civilians and security personnel killed over the last 20 years. They don't have human rights. But then what can you expect from the left, Navika? They are the one who bat for Hamas and Hezbollah in Kerala. They are the one who bat for Yaqub and Afzal after they've been convicted. Can you believe it? They have actually said human rights of Afzal were also violated by whom? By the Supreme Court of India. Yaqub didn't get his human rights from whom, Navika? Supreme Court of India. ये तो वो भी मंडली कहने के लिए तैयार है. आप पूछ लीजिए जॉन दयाल साहब, अफजल गुरु को फांसी पे लटकाया, सही लटकाया कि गलत लटकाया? Was it judicial execution?
Oh, I ask and answer questions only from the anchor.
एंकर साहिब आप ही पूछ लो.
Well,
सुप्रीम कोर्ट की थोड़ी सुनना है.
well, I really, you also stand for the terrorists. You stand for their protection. Should terrorists also have human rights? What about the human rights of those they kill?
We've stood for the human rights. I began by saying that the human rights of the victims, any victim, are important. I began by that. Maybe you didn't want to hear that.
Was Afzal's human rights taken away by the Supreme Court, sir? Can you not answer a question? The Supreme Court convicted him and told him that he needs to hang.
Okay, well.
Afzal is dead.
All right.
Afzal is dead. But Ravi Srivastava.
Afzal is dead.
Okay.
Thanks, we know that.
Let's
We're glad he's dead. One less terrorist scumbag on the earth.
Well,
Glad he's dead.
Ravi Srivastava, Maoist violence in the 10 years between 2004 to 14, there were 16,000 plus incidents. Security personnel killed about 2,000. Civilians killed over 4,500. Between June 2014 to 25, the violence is down to 8,000. That's 50% reduction. Security personnel killed, 1/3 reduction to 520. Civilians killed, again 1/3 reduction, down to 1/3, 1,500 people versus 4,600 people. I want to ask you, this is a success that the government has shown, that our forces have shown. Should you be congratulating them, or should there be questions raised about extrajudicial killings? It's a question that's very serious. Now we are talking about human rights of terrorists because Naxalites are nothing but creating red terror.
Good evening, Navika. First of all, this reduction was brought about because the government made an effort to bring those people in the mainstream, and which was the very objective. If the government had a credible input about the Basavaraju, he would have been made to surrender, and he would have been brought to book by a judicial process and subjected to a trial instead of killing him along with some innocent tribal people. The point here is the state cannot be a killer. The state, the Home Minister is a chest-thumping bravado that I have done this, I have killed people. If the killing is the solution, then why not to do it in the Manipur?
No, so
Tomorrow
what do you want?
Will become
No, were they growing roses, my friend? They were carrying arms and ammunition. And were they shot, in cold blood? No, sir, it was in an encounter. But Sushant Sareen,
tribal people to Naxals.
Sushant Sareen, are they really, do they understand national security? Do they understand national security, or is this some humbug that they keep talking about just because whatever this government does is wrong and they have to speak against it?
State cannot be a killer. State has to be run democratically.
State is a
has
killer.
to follow the constitution. It has to act.
He loves it so much. How do I speak?
No.
But he continued to talk. Nobody said anything. But the moment somebody else gets a chance, this is, the problem with most of these leftists. They're so intolerant to other people's views. Look, the thing is that I don't think they are aware of national security, and they don't care much for it. What they really care for is national insecurity. Because all elements which create insecurity in the country, that is what many of these guys bat for. Now, take the case of Mr. Dayal saying that, yes, human rights are also of, the people who are killed by the Naxals. But somehow we don't see them as agitated and as anguished when the Naxals carry out the killings, But when the Naxals get killed in encounters, that is when, all their human rights and their anguish and everything else comes out. Secondly, why are we presuming, or these gentlemen presuming, that Basavaraju was ready to surrender? Do they have any evidence he was ready to surrender? That the people who were killed along with him were innocent people? Why were innocent people hanging around a dreaded terrorist who has been one of India's most wanted? What do you do if somebody does not want to surrender and wants to fight till the last bullet? How do you look? People often forget. A few years back, there was a very top level Maoist leader who was arrested from Delhi. If the cops wanted at that point of time, they could have killed him in an encounter and said he was resisting arrest. They didn't do it. The man, gave himself up. He was arrested. He was taken to jail. He went through a full trial, and everything happened according to the law. But in the middle of a jungle, if somebody wants to fight it out, then what do? You have to, eliminate the guy if he is as dreaded a terrorist as this character was. And you have to break the back of this movement, which has been responsible for the deaths of thousands of people in this country. How can anybody with a conscience say that, this man was some kind of a paragon of virtue and that, extra care should have been taken to make sure that, you should have appealed to his good sense so that he surrendered and he did not have to be shot. He didn't want to surrender. A man who for 50 years or close to that has been involved in these kind of activities, do you think he's going to surrender right now?
Yeah. Was he watering his plants there? No, sir. He was standing fully armed, trying to shoot down our security forces and civilians around. And the fact of the matter is that this is the man responsible for the killing of 21 of our soldiers in 2021. Please look at those. Look at the families of those who defend our nation. Do they not have any human rights? And is it a pattern in this country, whether it is the Batla House encounter, that we begin to cry that this is an extrajudicial killing, whether it is Ishrat Jahan, Bihar ki beti, whether it is Sorabuddin, it becomes a case of an encounter which is an extrajudicial killing. Each one of these have been terror-related action that have been taken by the forces. To call Ajmal Kasab also and Yaqub Memon the perpetrators of terror acts in this country, well, there is an ecosystem that came out even to defend them, to get the Supreme Court opened at 1 a.m. in the morning, despite the fact that all levels of judicial procedure were undertaken. That is what this ecosystem actually tries to propound. The question is, when it comes to internal security, it will be action time. And in this action, we should be proud of our forces rather than raising questions. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on the NewsHour tonight. And thank you, viewers. Good night from me, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow on the same show at the same time. The NewsHour at 9.